You're listening to the SuperPower Up podcast with your superpower experts. This is the place where we explore real-life superpowers and give you the tools to unlock your own.
Hello, everyone. This is Tonya Dawn Recla, your superpower expert, and I have a delightful woman with us today. Georgia Woodbine is she's a walking, talking embodiment of inspiration. She's so beautiful and delightful, and you're really going to love connecting with her energy. But she operates in the world of personal and professional development. She's one of the world's leading authorities in that area, and she's a lifestyle transformation coach. So it's a perfect fit for all of us in that integrative kind of holistic viewpoint of why are we here? Like, what are we doing? And what's the purpose and all that good stuff? And more importantly, how can we use that knowledge to really have an impact on the world? And she walks that walk and talks it. And so perfect to have her on the show and share her with you. She's authored many books, and been featured all over the place. And so you get the picture. This woman knows what she's talking about. And so I'm excited to talk with her today about what is personal development now. And the purpose of that is really dialoguing about the evolution of personal development and how it's keeping up with consciousness. And so this is a topic near and dear to my heart. So please join me in welcoming Georgia to the show. Welcome, Georgia.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. It's our pleasure. So we're going to jump right in and ask you, what are your superpowers?
Well, there are a couple of them. Once you start to tap in one,
shocking.
Once you start to tap in one power, you realize you have another power. So I'll say the first one is probably the power of discernment and intuition. My other power would be being a manifester, using my thoughts to create my reality. My other power would be creator, the creativity, embracing my gifts and talents to empower others. And the power of being a communicator, having that natural ability to effectively connect with other people, and the power of being a teacher, because I'm here to share my spiritual truth with other people.
That is beautiful. I love the fact that you have such conviction. I am here to share my spiritual truth with other people. How did you get to where you had that kind of conviction?
Well, when you go through life bumping your head a couple of times and making the same mistakes over and over again, and then you get to a place in your life when you say, why? Why am I here? What should I be doing with my life? Why am I going through these obstacles, these challenges, these setbacks? I think initially that's what really got me to this place, to really learn of my true self and why I'm here, what I'm supposed to be doing with my life, and then share that why with other people, because I think there's millions of people around the world, around the country, that's really struggling with that and trying to figure out, well, what should I be doing with my life? What should I be doing with my time? And it really has nothing to do with the amount of money you make or where you live or the car you drive or any of that stuff. It has to do with really getting spiritually connected so that you are aligned mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually to get to that center of self.
Beautiful. Well, and you and I are cut from the same cloth in the sense that I don't really see that there's anything else. Like really, it wasn't that long ago. It feels like maybe it was like lifetimes ago where I dedicated myself to that. And I tell people, I committed myself to my own evolution to the detriment of everything else. And so I love that you mentioned we're not talking about making more money or being successful in business. Of course, those are byproducts of doing this work, but it is foundational work. And I think that's where people get caught up in the personal development stuff because, and I don't know that this is true. Maybe it's just at different layers or maybe it's timing, but it seems to me that dialogue had a superficiality to it at one point. Maybe that was just my interpretation. And really, it's so much deeper than a lot of people want to face. Do you have that experience?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Personal development, I always go back to, what is true self? And true self is the core of your identity. It's you apart from your life roles. And, it's more of getting to a place of of feeling good, peace, joy, happiness, passion, where it kind of harmonizes with what your core values are. And I think a lot of times, because we don't know how to identify with true self, it becomes harder to get closer to it. Because when you think about when we were born and when our parents gave us a name, that's something that was given to us. When we think about even the jobs that we've had or the titles that we've had on our jobs, that's something that somebody gave to us. When we think about, being a mother or caretaker, a wife, a daughter, a sister, friend, those are all labels that has also been given to us. But when you talk about personal development and getting to the core of true self and who you are and why you're here, it's something underneath all that other stuff. And that's where we get to the place where it's like, that is really what true personal development is about. It's getting underneath all the stuff and digging deeper to pull out this person that was really born to be this way and created to be this way.
That's so beautiful and eloquent. And I go back and forth between like, okay, why? Why would we want to do that? Because, at one point in my journey, somebody was saying to me, well, you keep saying it's a lot of work and this and that. Well, why the hell would I want to do it? And it's like, well, that's a good question. Maybe I should reframe how I'm speaking about this. But it was, and then I go back and forth, are we doing this because we are growing ourselves, because that's what we've signed on for? Are we doing it to help the world? And maybe it's both. I don't know. What's your response to that?
I think it could be a little of both, because I always tell people I don't teach what I don't know and I don't lead where I don't go. So if I'm saying to you that there is a higher place of self, then I have to get there myself. So it is a part of you growing and evolving and becoming in a place where you can manifest and become a deliberate creator for you then to share it with other people and say, this was the process that I went through to get to this higher place of self. So I do believe it's a combination of both. You developing yourself as an individual and becoming, elevating at a higher level of awareness, and then you taking all of that and sharing it with other people.
Beautiful. And do you think that we can help everybody? Like, I've heard different theories. Like, at one point I abided by the theory that you can really only help the people who are walking a path similar to yours. But I don't know if I hold to that anymore, because energetically we touch everybody and we're connected to everyone. What's your focus with that?
Well, I believe we have to meet people where they are, because if you start it's almost like when you're speaking a different language and they look at you and they're like, what the heck are you talking about? I don't understand. So you have to meet people where they are. You have to connect with people. I don't believe that, you should set a limitation on how many people you can touch and how many people you can connect with and how many people's lives you can change. It's really about meeting people where they are, finding out where they are and finding out what they need help with and working with them at the level that they are so that they can grow. And everybody cannot be at the same place at the same time. We're evolving. I'm constantly evolving. So I can't expect my friends and my family and all the people that I'm connected to see things the way that I see things, because it's going to take time to go through that process. But I can meet them where they are, and I can, share some of my personal experience that helped me to elevate personally, professionally, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. Because, people see that you're a changed person. People can see a light around you when you are evolving and moving to higher levels spiritually. And they are attracted to that. They want to be a part of that. They want a piece of that. They want to know, why are you always smiling? Why are you always so happy? Why do you always feel good? Why do you always look at things from a different perspective where there's always a solution to every problem? Why are you so motivated? Why are you so energetic? They want a piece of that. So you have to know how to, like I said, meet people where they are and connect with them where they are, so they don't feel like you're trying to put them down or you're trying to make them feel bad because they're not operating at the level that you are.
And I think I'm so glad you said that, because I think there's so much power in emulating that. And there is a point, in my belief, in the personal development journey. You talk about what is personal development now. And I'm a big fan of the idea of evolving it into the space where it is a responsibility. And in my opinion, when it's kind of like Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility, and I like the idea of when you get to a certain place of your own development, you are obligated to stay in that frequency and operate there, because otherwise, this is my take on it. Like, we know, like we connect with everybody energetically first. We may not be consciously aware of it, but we are all entwined. We are all connected. We all have that sense of each other. And so intrinsically, we know if somebody is sitting in kind of an evolved space. But if their persona is playing small, or not stepping into that space, or downplaying themselves, or getting into petty dialogue, we know, and there's an incongruity. And all that does, in my opinion, is further the dialogue within the collective consciousness that it's not safe to be your full self. And we do more damage. So here's my soapbox. Like, if you're going to embark on this journey, take ownership of it and take responsibility for what you're perpetuating. Because if not, then don't embark, because you're doing more harm than good.
Exactly. Is that
fair? Is that fair to say? Do you think?
It is fair to say, because you know what? That's the same thing I believe. I believe that once you are able to identify with your gifts, your talents, the things that we were born with, because you know what? Everybody was born with a special gift, a special talent, a special natural ability. We all have it. Okay, some people realize it earlier than others, but it's not that the other people just don't have it. It's just they haven't quite tapped into it yet. And it's so funny, like you were talking about. The funny thing is, when you are vibrating at high levels and high frequency levels, your energy will not allow you to even be a part of certain energies. It's almost like you just can't entertain it.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if you've experienced that, but...
Oh my God. I call it like does not compute. It's like, huh? Like, what are you doing? Like, it just doesn't... Like, I feel like an alien sometimes. You're like, huh? Like, how is this a thing?
It's true because once you start to understand the power of energies, then you know that certain things you're just not going to participate in. And because what happens is, when you start, the negative energies will start to pull you in and hold you hostage and pull you in without you even realizing it. So it is very, like you said, I'm not going to say very, extremely important to know how to keep yourself in higher vibration levels.
Beautiful. Well, and that's a big part of the Superpower Net, our membership base, because what I found was early on when I started this, like, it was easy to attune people to those higher frequencies and to connect them with it. And for a lot of people, it was the first time they really felt themselves. And the challenge was the world at large is happy to affirm your lower frequency aspects. And so if I was the only one that they could meet in that space, it was just too challenging to maintain. And so we created an entire network, and then the podcast and everything else is in support of that higher vibrational living, because it is so hard to be in the world and not consume yourself with being of it. It's much easier. It's basic physics. Like, energy will seek to balance itself. And if you're not maintaining that higher frequency, then you will get sucked into it. And that's the challenge. And so the more of us that band together and intentionally connect in this space and say, you know what? No, it is safe to do it. We can do it. It is a worthy journey to do. And we believe that we can live differently. The more of us that do that, the more powerful that claim becomes, and the easier it is for others to maintain that higher frequency. Well, you've been listening to the Superpower Up podcast. We're going to take a quick break. We've been talking with Georgia Woodbine about what is personal development now. I mean, this is some next level stuff, folks, but I know a lot of you are bored with the self-help kind of dialogue, and this is not that. And so stay with us, because after the break, we're going to come back. And if this is intriguing to you and it resonates in your body, we're going to show you how to do this. We're going to come up with some practical tips and stuff to get you on this trajectory and really push through some of your stuff right now. So stay with us.
Are you here to change the world? Do you talk about things like vibration, frequency, awakening, and consciousness? Are you pretty sure you have superpowers? The SuperPower Net is unlike normal coaching programs and conscious communities. We provide training, intuitive guidance, peer-to-peer learning, intensive one-on-one coaching, and a high vibrational network of people just like you. When you join the net, you get 24/7 access to a collaborative group of people who support you as you master your personal power and unlock your superpowers. If you're ready to use your superpowers to change the world, then join the SuperPower Net today. Visit superpowerexperts.com/thenet to learn more.
Okay, we're back. We got work to do, folks. We are on the SuperPower podcast. We're talking with Georgia Woodbine. This woman, I can tell you, she gets in, she gets her hands dirty. We are going to make this happen. We're talking about what is personal development now. So, Georgia, what can we offer to the listeners? I know we can do this. What can we offer to the listeners that helps them, really activate some of those higher frequencies and adopt this more evolved position about personal development and some of that ownership and responsibility piece? Well, where's a good place to start them out with that?
Well, to tie into what you're saying, I do want to talk about the differences between living your life by default and living your life by the power of intention, because I live my life by the power of intention. And you may ask, how do you know if you are living your life by default? When you're living your life by default, you just become complacent with what is rather than what can be. You feel like something is missing. You're going through the motions. You make decisions based on other people's opinions. You become frustrated with life. You have no control over anything that's going on around you. And you're constantly complaining over and over and over and over again. That's living by default.
No, tell us how you really feel, Georgia.
So you have to determine, because you know what, Tonya, some people don't know they're living by default. You have to
I know. I love it. Well, it's so funny. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people. I'm like, okay, here's the deal. Like, you believe that your life happens to you. I believe that I create my life. So we really have no paradigm to start from, where do you even start dialogue in that space? And so I love that these are some practical points, folks. Like, take a hard look at yourself and go, it may be you. You may be the one that's perpetuating some of these lower frequency existences, and you have the power within you to change it. So make no mistake. Like, and I'll let Georgia get back to her point here in a second. But go ahead. It's perfect that it's. When you identify, so initially it can feel crappy to be like, oh, wow, like I complain a lot, and we don't want to own that. But let me tell you what's on the other side of that. You start owning that and recognizing, wait, I am living my life by default. I do believe that I'm a victim of circumstance and all these other things. Once you own that, you get to change it. Yes. If you don't own it, you will always be a victim of that. Like, that's the magic in it. And a lot of people get stuck in that limbo of not wanting to own it, not wanting to face it. But I'm telling you, there's so much power and freedom on the other side of that. It is worth that journey.
Absolutely. Well, I think the thing is why people are afraid to own it, because they're afraid. They're afraid of the unknown. They're afraid of what's on the other side, And when you start to understand that personal development, the power of intention, living at your highest potential, all these things are built from surrendering yourself and saying, you know what, I'm going with my feelings. I'm going with the power of intention. I'm not going to be fearful. I'm not going to be afraid, because when you're operating at that level of fear and anxiety and of being afraid to make changes and also acceptance, realizing where you are and what you need to change about yourself, because that's a big part of it as well, then, you can get past that. So, let go of the fear, surrender yourself so that you can start to experience this newness. Like Tonya and I, we've been through a lot of pain. We've been through a lot of setbacks. We've been through a lot of challenges, disappointments. We go through that. That is a part of the process, and you cannot abort that process. And some people just want to jump to the end phase and skip all that other stuff. But, you know, what would we have to offer to the world
Absolutely.
if we did not have this foundation of experience to show others that, you know what, I overcame. You know what, I got through this. You know what, I survived the health issue. You know what, I got through my financial problems. You know what, I got through this relationship. You know what, I can, I will, I am. It's all about knowing who you are, and you can, and you will.
Beautiful. I feel just like shouting amen to that one. That was, but it is, it's like, and it's, you know, at the beginning of the show, I talked about it. Like when you pledge your life to this, and it, you know, it's so funny. Like we have people come to us all the time asking, you know, well, how does this fit in with my religion? And how does it, you know, they think that it's, you know, it's too woo-woo or metaphysical. But I tell people, like, this is the ultimate walk of faith, in my opinion, is that it's getting to the place where you surrender to that journey and you allow that to supersede everything. And it goes against a lot of what we believe about family responsibilities, about community responsibilities, about, you know, if you're members of different groups where it's like the group, if you really look under the surface of a lot of group identities and stuff like that, the let's all stay in the box is a big part of a lot of those, the cultures of different groups. And if you're not careful, it's easy. A lot of families have that modality. Like nobody wants anyone in the family to really do well, because that would mean that they've got to look at themselves and figure out why aren't they doing well. And it's toxic. But as soon as somebody says, you know what, I don't think it needs to be this way, and they refuse to take on the story that if they follow their own evolution and their own journey and connection to source and God and the universe and become bigger and assist people in that capacity, they refuse to take on the story that somehow means that they've turned their back on other people. In fact, it's the most embracing and, in fact, loving and selfless thing, in my opinion, that you can do.
Absolutely. And it's so funny you said when people, you know, they don't want to see somebody else do well. That's why so many people, it's so easy for them to watch all this reality stuff with other people because they think they're better off. So that's why they spend so much time with watching television and putting all this energy into things that's not going to help them develop or grow, because it keeps them away from really facing themselves. And as Tonya was saying, you cannot get to the higher level of self. And you're talking about being successful personally, financially, emotionally, physically. Like you get to a place where all this is one. You don't have to worry about money because you're living in purpose and you're doing what you're meant to do and you feel good about what you're doing. So you're not at a job that you hate, or you're not worried about what other people are doing. You're not comparing yourself to others. You're not being jealous of others. You're just operating in yourself, your center. And more people really need to get to that place, because they will be surprised at the things that they are able to manifest once you're operating at that level.
Well, and that space, you know, I refer to as, you know, full autonomy, or, you know, your sovereign self, or whatever it may be. And it really is true freedom. And in that space, like, you're untouchable in the sense that you're not abdicating your power in any situation. And, you know, I often tell people, like, because they ask, you know, well, what is that experience like? And I say, you know, I am the authority in just about every situation I find myself in. That doesn't mean that I lord that over someone else, or that I usurp someone else's power. It simply means that I am not abdicating that for anybody or anything. I know who I am, and I know what I do here in the world. End of story. And nothing deviates me from that trajectory. Now, that doesn't always make me popular at cocktail parties, you know, but let's be real. Like, it's, you know, that's what's going to happen.
Well, that's true. You know what? And I think when you do get to this place, you're more open, you're more straightforward. You don't entertain things that, you know, foolishness.
Well, the way that I word it is I don't honor anybody's lower frequency aspects. I refuse. Like, so if you're going to come at me with a story, or you're going to come at me with some worry or something, and you're wanting me to co-sign with you in that space, I won't do it. I won't, because you can find a million other people to do that with you. What you're going to have trouble finding is someone who says, you know what? I know who you are.
Right.
I see you. And where I see you and where I connect with you, that's not a hindrance to you. That's not an obstacle, because I know why you chose that. And I know that you have the ability to transmute it for your own existence and then to help others with that. So I'm not going to buy into that with you.
Right.
You know, and ultimately a lot of times misery loves company, but I will tell you, when people find me, they are ready to hear that.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I do believe that when people get to a place where you start to realization, you start to say, okay, where you're in a certain place, you start to attract certain things to your life. So like you said, if you are ready for change and you've been saying, you know what, I want to change my life. I want something different. I don't want what I'm continuously seeing. I don't want to repeat this. Then what happens is people will start to show up in your life, like Tonya and myself, and start to shed light where you need the light. So that's what happens. When you're ready to receive it, people will start to pop up in your life.
Absolutely. And it's, and so many of you I know are waking up to that space. And all I can say is have faith. You know, just that doesn't mean that they're going to knock on your door instantaneously, because your conviction will be tested. And if you are true to that and you're really ready to operate in that existence, you will be supported and you will be loved. And it seems like there's like this moment in time where you feel utterly and completely alone, because you have to be willing to walk away from what was. And we don't, I don't mean that means that you don't have any friends and you have to walk away from your job. You know, I mean, a lot of people go through it that way, but you don't have to. It's an emotional detachment. It's an energetic detachment. And when you feel alone, you know, when you're having your Job moment from a biblical reference, then and you ask and you say, you know what, I don't know what this is going to look like, but I have to believe in this. Like when you're at that point, as soon as you open that door up, you'll find everybody there. Like it's the most beautiful thing in the world, but you do have to be willing to open that door on your own.
Of course, you have to declutter your life to find out why you're really here, what you should be doing to operate at your highest potential. You have to declutter certain toxic relationships, you know. You have, like you said, the being alone part in Job, you have to go through that process because if you don't, you can't identify with the things within yourself that you need to change. Because, you know, a big part of it first starts with you and how you need to become better and what you need to change, whether it be how you deal with situations, how you deal with friends, family, whatever the situation is. But a big part of that is working on you first. And then once you're able to work on you and embrace you and say, you know what, okay, I need to change this. I can make this better. I can be a better me. When you're willing and surrender to being a better you, then you can, and you will vibrate at higher levels.
Beautiful. And recognize that some of what keeps people back are those lower frequency pieces that have the story that it's not safe. Like folks recognize we have a lot of stories in our collective consciousness of crucifixions and witch burnings and all kinds of whatnot, where we carry within us this idea that it's not safe, that we will be at least we'll get kicked out of the tribe, and then we don't have resources, and then we'll die, you know, or the more extreme cases, we will be crucified for this. And I know it sounds kind of silly and way out there, but we are working against that, you know. And so you have to be willing to look those stories in the face and go, is that true? Is that true? Like, is that a story I want to feed any energy to? And so the more of us who are willing to stand up in our greatness and say, no, we're not buying into that anymore. That the time for those stories is over. And this goes back to that whole, what is personal development now? And part of that process now is being willing to say no more. Not at all. We're not interested in that dialogue anymore. I, for one, want to see what's on the other side of all of that. And the more of us that willingly play in that space, you know, it's just this new, beautiful existence, and we get to create what that looks like.
It is. And, you know, what's so important about this whole process is like letting go of your past and not worrying about what happened in your past, or, you know, the people associated with your past, because people sometimes bring old emotions into the present, and you have to let go of those emotions. You have to forgive. You have to let go. You have to move past that. And then sometimes people worry or fret about the future, like where they think they should be, what they think they should have, what they feel they should have accomplished. But when you let go of your past and you stop fretting about your future, then you can really laser in on your present, because that's really where you want to be. You want to focus on the now, right now. Where am I now? What should I be doing right now? Because when you let those other two go, you can embrace, living a life where you understand you do have a purpose. You are here for a reason, and you're not operating on a level where you're anxious or you have anxiety about what's going to take place. When you're living in the present and you embrace the present, you are free. You are free. Because you understand that whatever is meant to be is going to be. Whatever is meant to happen is going to manifest. You don't have to force it to happen.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, obviously, you and I could sit and talk all day long.
I know.
I'm thinking, I'm hearing my production team in the background going, stop talking, Tonya, stop talking. Oh, gosh. So anyway, I know our listeners are going to want to know where they can go to find out more about you. Where would you like to send them?
They can go to my website, www.georgiawoodbine.com. They can Google me, Georgia Woodbine. I'm all over the internet. I'm on social media. So they can always find information about me.
Well, awesome. Well, I know you all felt her today, and I so appreciate knowing that you're out there in the world doing the work that you do, and I'm a big fan. So thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you for having me, Tonya. It was an absolute pleasure being a guest.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. And for all of you out there, as always, we appreciate your loyalty. And until next time, go out, uncover your superpowers, and change the world. Take care, everyone.
Are you ready to discover your superpowers? Go now to superpowerexperts.com and discover your superpowers today.